enemy missile attack has been launched against this country. I repeat, an enemy missile attack has been launched
God
against
almighty, Dux, there's only 3 minutes to go!
Now our regular arts report. The cartoonist Raymond Briggs is best known as a children's writer. He made his name with books like The Snowman and Fungus the Bogeyman. But when he produced a cartoon book for adults about nuclear war, he obviously struck a nerve. When the Wind Blows, which is a black comedy about 2 old people caught up in a nuclear attack on Britain, has since been adapted both for radio and the theatre. Now, as Nick Glass reports, it's being made into a full-length cartoon film.
Raymond, just as a joke really, because it might be the last thing I was expected to do, having done books about Father Christmas and bogeymen and whatnot, and it stuck in my mind, and I went and started it almost immediately really.
It was the winter of 1981, and I'd met Raymond Briggs because we were just in the early stages of production with The Snowman, and just before packing up for the Christmas holidays I was handed a copy of When the Wind Blows, not knowing what it was about, and I put it in all my bits and pieces for Christmas and took it home. And the day after Christmas I got the flu and took myself off to bed, and I took Raymond's book with me upstairs, and I thought, I know what I'll do, cheer me up, I'll read his latest book. An hour and a half later my wife came up with a cup of coffee, and I was on the very end of the very last page of the book, and I had tears running down my cheeks, and she leant forward and she said, oh darling, you really are ill this time, aren't you? I phoned Raymond the very next day to see if I could secure the rights, and I was told that I could, and I sent this white copy off to Jimmy Murakami because I knew in the instant he was the right person to direct the film.
I mean, this film is a very modest, sort of humble attempt to try to make people aware that that we're all going to kill ourselves.
So, and I think they're a fairly typical English working class couple, not as stupid as many people have made out. They seem to be perfectly sensible, simple, but not stupid by any means. These people were meant to be based on my parents really, and they were of that generation. They're not alive to hear me say that, so I wouldn't like them to think that they were as simple as they are, but they were fairly simple, uneducated people. So it is quite...
We were involved in experimenting and trying out new techniques and doing films that had a different look all the time.
Psst, you, come here. You doing anything? Why not?
Animation is a very magical technique of filmmaking, and one which I think has an enormous long way to go. There are all sorts of things that have yet to be invented, not just technological, not computers, but artists with their hands drawing and making things live. After George Dunning died, and he'd been so much the creative soul of the studio, trained so many of the people who are working for me now, I felt that we should make an effort to find some really strong subject to make our own entertainment film that would go a whole lot deeper and more seriously into animation than had been done previously. And I spent a long time searching for a subject and was fortunate enough to come across Raymond Briggs' marvellous book When the Wind Blows.
I had to be concerned with the acting of Jim and Hilda, which aren't really cartoon characters, so I had to work with all the animators, one at a time, I mean, sometimes in a group, to actually get them involved in feeling the character, who is Jim and who is Hilda, and then use the same method as they do in live action with the Stanislavski method acting. So it was a challenge, and I believe it, with most animators, they actually did.
The most important aspect of his character, I think, is his innocence. That's very important, I think. The way he trusts, without question, in the powers that be. I mean, working on this character, a lot of the time you just want to get him up off the paper and wring his neck, because you realise throughout the movie that this faith he has is basically going to get him.
The animation is, and this particular film is, a very, very long process. The animators have to sit down for 8 to 12 hours a day. And they sit down and they do one drawing after another. And if they do 2 to 3 feet a day, which is roughly 25 drawings a day, they're happy if it works. It is a very, very long, difficult process.
Gun in your hand, you can take your revenge, but you'll still feel bad. There must be more to life, lucky strikes and some lucky ones. Folded flags and pipes and drums.
We have gone off and created Dimension that's brought 2 characters that carry the whole film to life in one little cottage. And the system of filming live action backgrounds and fitting the animated characters into them has created something that's really a new look, and an interesting new look.
At 20 backgrounds at once. I like to work on as many as I can in one period in order to keep the feel. They will suddenly seem to come together at the same time. I've been working on the film for about 1.5 years now, ever since we started last year building the models. I actually built the models and then got into painting the backgrounds afterwards. I locked myself off from the actual horror of the whole thing and was able to treat it in a very cool, professional way. Like a doctor, really, and a surgeon, an operating table. You have to remove yourself from the subject itself in order to perform the operation correctly. And I think it's the same with here. We had one person who was very upset and had to leave the production after 1 day because she realized that the subject was too depressing to work on. But I think everybody was able to do exactly the same thing as me and just separate themselves from the whole thing and just get on and make the film.
It's entirely drawn animation. The way you do it is you just draw everything by hand. It's a particular specialty of mine that seems to come up quite often now. Well, 90% of it is thinking about it and planning and visualizing it, and then you sit down and draw it. You allow it to happen as you draw it, really. You set things up that will collide with each other, or something that is about to move, and you just keep drawing it and let it do what it wants to do, really.
It's a small bomb, it's not a big bomb. I mean, they dropped a bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which was something they just read about. They think it's never going to happen to them.
An enemy missile attack has been launched against this country. It is estimated that the missiles will arrive in approximately 3...
And dive under something heavy. Probably get irritated and misbehave the way that Jim does.
I don't think if the dreadful thing was to happen that I'd react the way they do. I wouldn't start putting up doors or anything. I would say I'd get on a train and go straight to central London and wait for it there, because you'd be more certain to be finished off fairly quickly there, rather than wait about here for a lingering death, which is just the wrong distance to be, this is.
I'm not quite sure. I might kiss goodbye to my cats. I'm not sure that I'd be able to do anything. People say they'll just take a bottle of whiskey and go out in the middle of the road and drink it and get run over, but I don't think you even have time for that.
Get a gun and blow my brains out before it happens to the bomb. because you're not going to survive, you know. I wouldn't even be curious to see how the bomb looks.
What would I do? Oh my goodness. Pray, I suppose, which is what they did.
Well, I'd hopefully be near my wife and my child. If I wasn't, I'd get on the phone to them and spend those last 3 minutes talking to them. If I was with them, then I'd just hug them until the bang, I guess.
Oh gosh, I think I'd burst into tears, really, because I hope that the film we're going to show around the world will have something, I hope, a little bit to do with stopping people dropping them.